Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I was asked a couple of questions about the video I did concerning can you invalidate and nullify your Shahada in your Islam. So I have mentioned in the video that during the times when we was in the gang, and Assalamu alaikum was a greeting of ours, right? Because, we was claiming to be Muslims. And the opposite gang, the ops, or opposition, the ones who opposed us, right, are ops. Because we used to say Assalamu alaikum, they, to mock us, to diss us, they would say stuff like Assalami and bacon. Salami and bacon, and I slam you in the lake, right? I used to think it was funny back then, but as a Muslim, I don't. A real Muslim. So I said that later on in life, it reminded me when I started to read Hadiths, what they was doing reminded me of a hadith. So I didn't mention what the hadith was. So I'm going to read that hadith because that person asked me, what hadith was it? So the hadith, I'm going to use it in Tirmidhi. This hadith is also in Bukhari Muslim. This is a well-known hadith. And alhamdulillah, it ties into the topic about greetings with non-Muslims and with those type of Muslims who there's just a greeting of their gang, or they individuals who are Hebrew Israelite, or they're 5%er, so they just greet anybody with what their greetings are. So this hadith, it says that hold on, alhamdulillah, my bad. This one is in Tirmidhi. So in this hadith, alhamdulillah, I don't even have to use Ibn Majah. It's also in here. Okay. So in this hadith, what was it, 270, 2701? Right here at the top of the page. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, narrated that a group of Jews entered upon the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they said, As Samu alaik. As-samu alaik, which means death be up on you. Right? As-samu alaik. As-samu alaik. So the Prophet said, Wa alaik, and up on you. So within this hadith, because the Muslims greeted each other with Assalamu alaikum, the Jews and the opposing, the ops, the opposition, the opposite of the Muslims, came up with a way to diss the Muslims by saying As-samu alaik. May death be up on you. So that's the hadith. When I came across this hadith, it reminded me of what they was doing. And, by us not knowing any better in the gang stuff, like I said, man, it was just part of being in the gang. And I speak on it now because the gang stuff, see, in this community, being that the gang that we was in, we was Black Pea Stones, vice lords, four corner hustlers, and different branches of those. You had maniac four corner hustlers, you had conservative vice lords, you had mafia vice lords, you got Black P Stones, you got Titanic Stones. So, but those just the main groups. So, the Stones would hit their chest like this, right? And then they would come like this. So, and then the vice lords would put their hand on their chest and do like this. So, what we ended up doing was the vice lord branches, we would be like this. So originally we would be like this, Almighty. Stones would be like all well, right? So we would be like this, Almighty, right? Touching the chest, the heart, as in like love, Almighty, right? So what we started doing was this. Touching the chest, we see each other touch the chest, Assalamu alaikum. Now I mention this because by us having the Islam aspect in our gang, the majority of the Muslims that come to the masjid generally is from one of those gangs, right? Now the reason why they doing this was for the 5, right? Where cats was riding the 5, which something that they stole, a hand like this, they stole from the Moorish Americans, because the Moorish Americans had a 5 and a 2 throwing up the 7. The 5 stands for the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, even in the gang thing. So, which came from the Moorish Americans, the 5-point star. So that's why we rolled the 5. So we was doing this, Assalamu alaikum. So, being that these particular gangs, once they got older and started coming to the masjid, they used to think it was funny, and they still think it's funny. This is why I mention it. When now that members from other gangs is starting to accept Islam, they come to the masjid. So, because they used to be in opposite gangs, they think it's funny to do them like this, Assalamu alaikum. And being that they in another gang and they don't recognize where this come from, they'll do it back. They'll be like this, Assalamu alaikum. And they think it's funny. And then they'll lightweight mistreat you and play on your intelligence in other ways because you wasn't in the same gang. So it's lightweight still banging on you. Now, when I started coming around, or when they do the stuff around me, and the people I knew they was from, they used to be in the other gang, I tell them, y'all quit doing that. Wallahi. Because I know what they doing. I know they think it's funny. Or when they play one of them, like one of them come to the community, and he a new guy. He want to come take his shahada, but he was in the opposite gang. So they gave him a ride. They all come to my house. They want him to meet me, and they want me to come to the masjid and all this and that. He a new brother in the community, so they come to my house. A few Muslim brothers deep, few foreigners, a couple African Americans. So we go back to the masjid. So when we get back to the masjid, the young brother says that, he got in a little trouble and he eventually gonna have to go do some time. So he was like, when I get to the joint, should I just be a Muslim or should I hang with my gang? So they asked him, what was he? So of course, for anybody who familiar, the ops to us, the opposite of what we was the GDs, the BDs, which the BDs kind of clicked with us more because they didn't like the GDs. But anyway, so he was a GD, So once he said that he was a GD, and now it's time to leave, brother tell him, "You not allowed in my truck. I'm not giving you no ride." But he did that because he was a GD. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I speak on it. And so like I see when I'm not around, like I see certain brothers who used to be in that other gang, and then they be around these same brothers, and when I'm around and they salam them, they got them doing this. But they don't realize that they tricking them into throwing up the 5 when they was GDs or some type of other GD, or they doing little sideways stuff to them that's mistreatment, and they don't recognize it, but they accept it because we Muslims, I'm around Muslims and I'm having fun. I have a problem with it. I say something about it, and it really be blowing my mind because some of these guys is almost 60. You know what I'm saying? Almost 60, and like another brother, new brother to the community, and he would be around me, and because he was around me, they just automatically assumed that he was from one of the gangs that we was in, so they was being cool with him. And then eventually, after a few months, I'm not around for whatever reason. I don't know what the conversation was, but he ended up saying what he was. I already knew what he was. I don't care. I'm Muslim. You know what I'm saying? I left that gang stuff alone. When I left high school, you see what I'm saying? By the time I probably would shake your hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd probably shake it up with you by the time I was like 20, you know what I'm saying? Possibly 21. But that stuff was dead to me for years. So, for whatever reason, the conversation came up and he said what he was. So then they come to me, why you ain't never tell us, man, dude, he wasn't one of the brothers. And see, that was another thing. When they would see on our side, we always referred to each other as the brothers. So even when they be like, yeah, I'm finna go to the masjid and kick it with the brothers, they wasn't talking about Muslim brothers. They still gang banging. So that's why I'm saying I recognize it. So then, like, when one of the individuals who was in the opposite gang, they wouldn't refer to him as one of the brothers. You see what I'm saying? But they wasn't catching it. Let's say, for instance, one of the dudes was in the opposite gang, and let's say his name was Raheem, right? And then one of them on the phone, and we might be at the masjid or standing outside, and then somebody called his phone. He hit the phone. Salam alaikum. They salam him back. What you on? Nothing up here at the masjid with the brothers? Oh yeah, and Raheem up here too. But Raheem wouldn't catch on because Raheem wasn't in the gang to recognize it. So I speak on it because I have a problem with it, and it's a particular individual that I'm cool with, that I got a lot of love for. I grew up with him, and he has this thing where, and I'm not speaking ill on him, and he watched these, so I hope he don't even take no offense to it, because he know I'm not trying to offend him, but he always wanted me to be honest with him. He had this thing, and I done talked to him about it before. No matter who you is, no matter where you going, he gonna say salam to you, right? And I had a brief conversation with him, but because these people may salam him back and this and that, they think it's gang stuff to them. So it's a little bit of playing that's going on, and they don't know what they be setting themselves up for. And if they pay close attention and they start to fool around up there, they'll start to notice the individuals that was in the gang that he's in. If he paid close attention, he'll see that they treat them different. But they not able to do it. And like I even seen some of them salaming him like this, and unconsciously he doing it back. Because you coming into the masjid and you think this is what the Muslims do, this is what I'm supposed to do. So that's why I speak on it. You see what I'm saying? Because some of them, they didn't come to Islam. Now I want to take my shahada. The gang, Islam came with the gang. If Islam didn't come with the gang, some of them wouldn't even be Muslim today. And that's just a true story. Unless, you know, Allah put something in their heart. But some of them can't leave it alone. And some of them wasn't like that in the streets. So some of these guys who was our ops, you know, some of them was some get busy dudes. So they think it's funny to play with them around people who understand the inside jokes. So it make them look like, yeah, you know, I'll be playing around with one of the get busy dudes and he don't get it. So the other brother, he asked me about the Hadith. So that's the Hadith. So it's two rulings that come with this. By us saying Assalamu alaikum as gang members, the opposite, the ops, our opposition, they chose to make fun of that by saying Assalami and bacon. So two things, and this is what comes along with greeting non-Muslims and other type of things, right? When you get into hadiths, you're not supposed to insult their religion. Like, even if they believe in Buddha, you're not supposed to say bad words or this and things about Buddha, because it might cause them to say bad things about Allah, Allah's deen, and the Prophet. So you're supposed to stay away from insulting their beliefs, because it might cause them to insult Islam, or it might put some ill feelings in their heart about Islam. Right? So when some of us don't take into account to this, so this is part of the ruling before I touch the hadith. Sometimes when you disbelievers, let me put this part in first. Disbelievers by the scholars, and when you start to dig into the deen, they mostly put them in two categories. The type of disbelievers that you could do business with, you could be cordial with, y'all can be associates. And then there's the other type of disbeliever who's considered to be hostile. They hate Islam. They want to be the enemies of Muslims. You're not even supposed to do no business with them. You're not supposed to salam them. You're not even really supposed to have no association with them. Now, if y'all work together or y'all go to school together, that's a different story. And speaking if y'all have to speak. But you still supposed to treat them a different way. They don't fall in the same category as the other kafirs who just might be a good friend you grew up with, a cousin, a brother, a sister, your parents, your uncles, aunties, you know, possibly, you know, I hate to say it, but I do know some Muslim sisters that got kafir boyfriends. So they might be your boyfriend, and they might be your girlfriend, or it might be your wife. You know, some Muslims is married to non-Muslim women. So they don't fall under that category. So you got to keep that in mind. So sometimes you saying Assalamu alaikum to non-Muslims, it's offensive to them. Not all, but some of them, they get offended by it. It's equivalent to them coming up to you telling you Merry Christmas. Coming up to you telling you Happy Easter. Because they feel like those things come with their religion. That's not my religion. Don't salam me. Just like, you know, with my mom. My mom will say peace be on to you because it's in her Bible. But she's not going to say Assalamu alaikum. And if I say Assalamu alaikum to her, it's going to be offensive. That's not my religion. That's yours. So you don't want to be offensive to them to where they might start to be offensive towards the deen. Where you might walk away and it might put something in their heart and they say something about Muslims. Because it's falling under the same category of when you can't be offensive towards their beliefs, so that they don't start to mock or say things about Allah Azza wa Jal. So that's one thing. So, especially if it's a type of kafir that you ain't even supposed to be salaming no way. In any type of way, shape, or form. So, but we gonna get to the hadiths on it because the brother asked me about it. Because one brother, like he said, like what's the harm in it? And this is where I'm saying, we gonna ask. Alhamdulillah, they haven't really dug into the hadith, so the brother was like, what's the harm in it? So I'm saying on one aspect, you have to be able to recognize who's gang banging and who's not. Because like I told one brother, I understand the gang thing. I come from it. I used to be one of them. So, they was like, yeah, well, I salam, this and that. And he said this. And, I'm telling him, I got where you coming from. And I got love for him. I talk to the brother whenever we see each other, but I'm not going to salam him. Because I know what they coming from. Regardless of what I want to put them under. Because I want to have this euphoria of we all big happy Muslims. No, they gang banging. They swine, they najis, they mujrimuns, all fall under all type of categories. And then, like some of them be those type of family members who, like you have some of those family members who will say stuff like, oh, you believe in that old fake God. He don't really believe in God. You can't be something, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm going to get to the hadith. So once you know these categories and you know these things, then you'll be more mindful because you could be putting yourself in something based off of what you feel, but it's displeasing to Allah. Allah said don't do it. His prophet said don't do it. And sometimes when you inform individuals of this, they have a problem with that. I'm a dude, I feel like this and that. Now, I will also say this before I touch the hadith. Now, if you got, let's say you married to a non-Muslim and y'all have some different endearments and y'all sit around and, salam each other, assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam, on some endearment stuff. Or if you have a parent and y'all do that, or a close cousin who's cool with that, it's not offensive to them. They actually understand what the greeting is. Not necessarily a dua. That's a different thing. That's understandable. Because like I said, there's two type of kafirs. But sometimes people be, and because like I say, this ain't the first person I seen. The brother, he ain't the first one I done seen do that. And I done seen individuals just salaming people, and the people don't salam them back. Like we may pull up, go to a restaurant or something, and they just salaming people, and people looking at them like with that look on their face. And then they may salam them again, like these people obligated to give them salams, like salaming them again, like you didn't hear me salam you? Like you just gonna force them to say assalamu alaikum back to you when you're not even supposed to be greeting them no way. So just to touch a hadith, right? I'm gonna stay in Tirmidhi, which I do have Ibn Majah. Same hadith in here. So right here, this one narrated by Abu Hurairah, narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Do not precede the Jews and the Christians with the salam." Other word in the English translation, don't initiate the salams to kufr, to kafirs. Then it says, and if you meet one of them in the path, force them to go on a narrow portion. Now this was at times during war. This to show the Muslims is strong. We're not going to be bowed down to y'all weakness. So if y'all walking down the same sidewalk or a path, force them to go around. You got to show them some of that harshness. Not walking up to them talking about assalamu alaikum. The Rasul said don't salam them. Don't salam them. Now the next hadith, because some Muslims came to the Rasul and said, some of the, non-believers, they be giving us salams. What should we do? Because they didn't know what to do. The Rasul said, if they say assalamu alaikum to you, just say wa alaikum. Don't put the salam on it. This authentic hadiths. Don't put the salam on it. So, like it's saying, these authentic hadiths where we not supposed to do that. Now, like I said, it's a different story with some people. Y'all have a different understanding. Like how I said, some of the Hebrew Israelites, they say shalom. They'll say assalamu alaikum to the 5%ers. They'll say peace to the gods and the earths. To the North Americans, they'll say Islam. But just because one of them say assalamu alaikum to me, I'm not going to say shalom to them. You know what I'm saying? It all means peace, this and that. But if y'all have that type of understanding, that's a different thing. But authentic hadiths, and then it comes with taqreeds about why we not supposed to do this. And if they greet you, you not supposed to say wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum. You leave the salam off, because this is one of the names and attributes of Allah. And it's a dua. You can't wish the type of peace upon the type of peace that only Allah can give to some individuals that Allah is whomping their behinds. Allah ain't guiding them to this. So sometimes you have to use discernment, because it's difficult for us to leave certain things alone. And all I'm saying is, this stuff is attached to Quran and Sunnah. There's multiple hadiths. Just for time, I'm only touching these two. Now, the one I was going to read in Ibn Majah is the exact same one from Tirmidhi, which my book right here. So I'm reading from Tirmidhi, but I got Ibn Majah, which I was going to read the same hadith. I like to show them all some love. So the brother asked me what's the problem with it. The Rasul said don't do it. And then there's reasons why you're supposed to have a particular type of harshness towards them. Why? Because you say in Al-Fatiha, every time you say it, to not be on, to be guided away from the path of those who earned Allah's anger, those who earns Allah's wrath, those who Allah is not pleased with, those who have went astray. These are people that Allah is angry with. These are people who have went astray. They earned Allah's anger. They didn't earn Allah's salam. They didn't earn that. Man, like I said, you got a cool cousin, a cool family member, some people you grew up with, and y'all have some endearments, and it's not offensive to them to where they become offensive, where they don't end up walking around somewhere talking about, man, this dirty Muslim tried to force me to salam him. He gonna keep salaming me, man. They sitting up not believing it. They don't even believe in a real God. They sitting, and these is a thing where Allah is telling us don't be offensive to them, because they might turn around and start to abuse Allah, abuse the deen, abuse the messenger. Oh, that old fake Muhammad. And then they might start saying some old weirdo stuff about the Rasul Allah. You just never know what happens behind closed doors. Now, I'm just giving, because the brother asked me what was the harm in it. So I'm giving from the deen, and I'm giving a dalil. And this is an authentic hadith. You can find it in Tirmidhi. You can find it in Ibn Majah. You can find it in Muslim. So these is authentic hadiths. You see what I'm saying? So these is things that we should avoid. Now, when you have a problem with it and say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, just like in the first video, these is things that nullified Islam. Because what the Rasul came with, he came with perfect guidance. Once you choose to go against that, you rejecting it, especially when you telling yourself, what I'm doing is better. This is for the deen. If that's what it was, if that's how it should have went, then the Rasul wouldn't have said do the opposite. You understand? He wouldn't have commanded the Muslims to do the opposite if that was better. And this is how bid'ahs, how we create our own bid'ahs and different things like that. And like I said, that stuff is offensive. You don't want them walking up to you all day saying, Happy Valentine's Day, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, and all these old shirky little pagan type things. With some, and I'm not saying every last one of them, but, and then some of them, like I said, man, you know, sometimes, man, it's gang banging. It's gang banging. Now, if somebody come up to me and say, Assalamu alaikum, and I never seen them before, and I don't really know them, I'm going to go ahead and salam them back because I'm going to get in the benefit of the doubt of being Muslim. But I'm not going to just look at somebody and start salaming them first, and then if they do just salam me back for whatever reason, I'm not going to automatically assume they Muslim. Now, if they do salam me back, I'm going to say to them, you Muslim? Because I'm going to be honest with you. When I'm in situations and people see me somewhere and they salam me, Assalamu alaikum, I'll be like, wa alaikum salam, rahmatullah. You Muslim? You understand? Because, true story, one time I was in Philly, and this was back when they were selling the white tees, right? And this was I got my first taste of some reality in Philly. Brothers had their pants above their ankles, big beards. They had on dashikis, right? And they had their kufis on, but they had them on like this though, right? Big crazy beard all oily. And I walked up to them, and they were selling the big white tees, right? We was in the Badlands, North Philly, right? So I walked up to them. I was like, Assalamu alaikum, and they was like, we ain't Muslims, Ak. So I looked at them. I was like, y'all ain't Muslim? They was actually offended that I said Assalamu alaikum to them, but they look Muslim. I was like, y'all ain't Muslim? They was like, nah, Ak, we ain't Muslims. So, you know, I was like, okay, y'all on some funny stuff. So it was a Checkers, right there. So the people I was with, they was at Checkers. I jumped out the car to go over there and buy the white tees from them. So I jumped back in the car and I was like, now, you know, the other people in the car, they from Philly. So I was like, man, they talking about they ain't Muslim. And they was like, they ain't Muslim. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, man, they ain't Muslim, man. And I was like, man, but they look Muslim. They was like, man, who don't look Muslim? They was like, man, that's why you can't just be jumping out trying to salam everybody. And then they said they said a key thing to me. See, just because somebody tell you that they Muslim, you will let them cheat you. And I just kind of paused for a minute. And you know, I think about that all the time because I be seeing other people, because just because people tell them that they Muslim, they let people just run all over them and don't even have an idea whether they gang banging or not. But let me close out on a bonus hadith that I wanted to give y'all, man, and then show you another thing, man, about these najis. Because, okay, I'm sorry, man, my apologies. A brother had asked me about situations where, you know, some Muslims who still have a girlfriend, a long-time girlfriend, and people who married to non-Muslims. I'm going to say this. You know, your long-term girlfriend, and we know they permissible and all this and that. When you in those situations, you have to be careful. Because I have mentioned, like, going to date nights and bars and all that type of stuff with certain Muslims and they wives, man, going to date nights and going to different type of concerts and all that. And, you know, we kind of had a brief conversation where it was like, okay, we know you're not going to invite them to the masjid or the Eid dinners and this and that because you don't want them inviting you to church. But you will go to these other haram places and these haram environments because you want to please her. But you can't take her to none of the halal environments. Like if it's some Muslims outside of the masjid just sitting around the house having a game night, and they kicking it and they reading books and they studying, you can't bring her to that. You don't want to bring her to that. It's the same thing. she should be able to understand that. You don't want to come over here and read books and study and play halal games, Quran trivia. I don't want to. If we got to go out to eat, we got to go to this bar and all this other little type of stuff. Those things just get tricky, man. You have to use some discernment, because I'm going to be honest with you. Everybody I know that's with a non-Muslim woman, they fall into way more stuff that's not permissible than them bringing a woman to things that's Islamic. Like if we somewhere studying and we studying the deen and this and that, they don't bring their wives. But if their wife want to go to a concert or want to go to the bar because they having $2 wings and $3 margaritas or whatever, they gonna accommodate and then take them. But if the Muslims over here with some halal chicken, some halal fish and salad and this and that, and they discussing the deen and studying, they won't bring them to that. And I see them fall into a whole lot of things, man, that they possibly shouldn't fall into. So I never tell nobody to leave nobody. It's permissible for we to be married to them, but I always just advise people, man, teach them how to make ghusl. If you ain't gonna teach them nothing else, man, teach them how to make ghusl, man, because this is a purifier of the soul. You know what I'm saying? You don't want no female, man, y'all being intimate and all that, and then she not in ghusl, because she's gonna bring a certain aspect of the shaitan, man, in your home. There's a lot that comes with non-Muslims and also Muslims that don't know how to protect themselves. As far as like bringing the jinns in the home, not saying the du'as when they come in the house, and then like things that we as Muslims, we have to make tawbah for, right? Y'all too might fall into some things and you make tawbah, but she don't. Right? So although you in the house with them and the punishment of Allah is up on them, right, that you might be affected by that, because now you want this obedient, beautiful, loving sister, but she a headache to you because Allah letting her have it. So you just have to be careful with it, man. And like I'm a wakil, so some of the sisters I be telling them, and some of the brothers, see what the problem is. Some of these non-Muslim women that y'all marrying and y'all falling into these things, like, I see some Muslim brothers, man, that would literally go stand up with her with a pastor, a preacher, and have a whole Kafir wedding, talking about they doing it for their family. But they don't have a Muslim thing for you know what I'm saying? Or they might sit around a couple of brothers and, rigmarole a little Muslim nikah, and then go have this big old extravagant Kafir wedding and spend all type of money on it, and stand in front of somebody holding up a Bible in the name of Jesus and them and all this type of stuff. I don't understand that, but I see what be happening is they done dealt with these Kafirs in an impermissible way so long that they feeling so strong for them that they can't walk away. See, with the Muslim process and the nikah, y'all get married or y'all decide during the sit downs and this and that, no, we ain't a perfect fit. But see, with these non-Muslim women, and they already dealing with them and all this type of stuff, and now they love them and they don't want to leave them alone, so now they finally convinced them, well, you got to do the Muslim wedding for me, and then I'll do the Kafir wedding with you, and then they'll sit down and do it, and they give them the little rigmarole, it's a Muslim wedding, but it really ain't even like that. They downplay it so they'll be with it. But then they consider we gotta go have a Christian wedding. That's our real marriage, and now we finna stand up in front of some kafir, whether it be a judge or some pastor or some African ancestor believing in type dude standing up in front of them talking about in the name of Jesus, the power that has been invested in me, divested in me, whatever that little nonsense they be saying. I now pronounce you man and wife. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, they end up in those situations because they feeling so strong for them. They scared to tell them sisters, I ain't doing that. Like we got married Islamically. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Not only am I not doing that, I'm not finna spend no money on that goofer. But see, they be too scared that that woman she gonna tell them, nah, man, I'm up. What you won't do, the next man will type stuff. So they end up in that, and then once they give in on that, next thing you know, they celebrating birthdays, they buying presents, they doing little Mother's Day stuff, and just falling into all type of different things. And this is just what I've seen from the majority of the people I know that's married to non-Muslim women. And then when they sit down, they be like, when they start having trouble, you know what I'm saying, they say to themselves, man, I only married this sister for the dunya. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, I ain't telling nobody, you know, I know it's permissible. Do what you gotta do what fits you, man, but just be careful not to lose your deen chasing that dunya that comes with her. You know what I'm saying? And don't get so caught up with them that you go somewhere and have a nikah with a couple of brothers and then go sit around somewhere and have some big old extravagant full-blown wedding with some preacher standing up in front of y'all with the Bible like this, talking about in the name of Jesus and giving y'all some good words from the Bible, and people running around drinking and smoking all type of cigarettes, popping pills and smoking weed, having a good old time, and you paying for it. Nah, man, you can't see the shaitan in that. You can't see the shaitan in that. So let me give y'all this hadith, man. Real important hadith. It blow my mind, man, and it make me be so mindful who I be praying with. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? This one was narrated by Abi Hurairah, from a man amongst the companions of the Prophet. He wanted his Sahaba, right? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he prayed Fajr, that the Rasul prayed Fajr, and he recited Arum, but he stumbled in his recitation. He kind of messed it up, kind of forgot where he was, you know, got a little stuck. Now this the Rasulullah. He's reciting Arum, and he's messing it up. He's stumbling, right? So when he had finished praying, he said, now look at how the Rasul addressed the people. And I love this, man, because the Rasul used to address people. We had this whole thing that addressing people with Islam and about Islam is a problem these days, right? When he finished, when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished, he said, what is the matter with people who pray with us without purifying themselves properly? Those people make us stumble in reciting the Quran. So the Rasul is making salat and he's stumbling, he getting stuck, he messing up his recitation, and then it's revealed to him. He turned to them and say, man, what's the matter with y'all? He admonished, what's the matter with you people who come and pray with us knowing you ain't purified yourself properly? Whether it's purifying the nafs, Taharah, purifying the heart and the body, you're not in wudu properly, you could have been in sexual impurities. But this is what the Rasul said. Those people who come pray with us, they cause us to stumble. Them in our presence cause us to stumble in our recitation of the Quran. And this is during Salat, and this is the Rasul saying this. So let's remove it from the salat. And that's why I'm saying, if you're going to be with these girls and these women, if you're going to be with these non-Muslim men, teach them how to make ghusl. Because, not saying it will work, but at least try and how to make ghusl, because it's a spiritual purifier. So they impure spiritually. Now, if these individuals who Muslim who come into the prayer and they know that they ain't made wudu properly, and they know they ain't on their Taharah and purifying their hearts, and tazkiyah purifying their nafs, and then they come into prayer and this mess up the Rasul, what's going to happen to you in your everyday life being around them? This causing them to stumble in the recitation of the Quran. They're going to cause you to stumble in living the Quran, understanding the Quran. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, man, I see these individuals, man, falling into all this, man, going to all these bars and hanging out and kicking it, man, listening to music about murder and all this stuff, man, all in a bar with their girl talking about it's date night. You know what I'm saying? Might even have some R&B, some little old school soul and all that ambiances, and you know, cats all out there with their muscles out, and women big booty cheeks showing under they, you know what I'm saying? Like all this, man, trying to please, you know. Man, you just have to be careful, man. You have to be mindful of what you're going to fall into. And then I be noticing also, because like I said, I'm a wakil. And I know some sisters, man, I do be lying, man, but some of the things they fall into, and because it's their spouse or because it's their girlfriend, their mind doesn't click to make tawbah or say a astaghfirullah. They just keep living regular life. And you around this najis, man. Look at what this hadith, this authentic hadith, man. You can find this in Sunan Nasai. This my man. He was a cold individual. They say he was just as cold as Imam Bukhari. When you get into, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was another one where they say, man, we never seen nobody in that time like him. But, you know, you already had. So even in the books of hadiths, that's the order. Bukhari, Muslim, Nasai. This is the third most authentic book. But you know, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, because they based off fiqh, they got a bigger name. But Nasai, hey, he was like that. He was a cold individual. I like to show him some love. But so you just have to be careful, man. You have to be mindful of a lot of things, man, because we fall into a lot of things. And you know, I don't want to be making it seem like, you know, because one person, you know, I knew a sister, man, that said Islam was boring. Like, I feel like I can't do nothing. Like, everything is against the rules. You just feel that way because you're still toxic. you haven't detoxed from the dunya and filthy ways yet. You haven't detoxed your niggerdom. Because once you get rid of that, and like I say, I come from that. I've been the gang member Muslim. I've been the one with the girlfriends. And I'll tell you one thing. When I used to play with my deen like that, but thinking I was on my deen, my life was like topsy-turvy. When life was good, like let's say I'm up material-wise, this and that, I would be down spiritually. Like it just be 1,000,001 problems. It just seemed like every time I turned around, it was always something that would bring me back down. And then this would make me turn, you know, I'm always in arguments, you know, but I had a lot of material stuff because that's what I strived for. I've been that, man, but I always had headaches, man. I would be sick, hangovers, you know, problems, man. It was just always something. And as I slowly but surely started to break away from that stuff, wallahi, I remember just going years straight feeling like, man, you know what? I ain't got no problems. The only time I have problems is when I'm around people that got problems. And then I started to notice a lot of these people having a lot of problems, man, because they deficient in their deen, but because they telling themselves that they on such a high level of iman because they're following a version of Islam that they told themselves that they correct, so they could never be wrong. But they always sick, getting hurt. It's just one thing after another, man. And once you're not around none of that, you don't have no problems. You be peaceful, man. You be at one with Allah. It just be beautiful. But let me go ahead and end this, man. It got a little long. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.